Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. And we've got something different for you here today. We're going to learn how to make kind of web page designs, which are called mock-ups, how to do all of that in Photoshop, and we'll even show you how to do buttons. And we're going to make this one together, Spice of Life Indian restaurant, okay? Some pages that are going to be for that restaurant website. So there's 6 pages altogether. We won't do all of them in this video. What we will do is the home page, and then we'll show you once you've got a template for the home page, it's very quick and easy to make these other 5 pages. All right, so the pages are like an about page, a booking page, a contact page with a little fake Google Map picture put in there, a menu page where you just have a downloadable PDF for the menu, a home page here, and a gallery page. All right, so in a separate follow-up lesson, we're going to show how you can then take these page designs you've made in Photoshop and actually turn them into a little demonstration website which you can run in your browser. And we'll just quickly show you that right now, actually. All right, so here we are in, I think, Microsoft Edge, but it's the same in Google Chrome. And we'll be able to make our Photoshop JPEGs here that we've saved to the pages into something where we can actually click on this About button at the bottom, and then it will go to the About page, all right? And if you click on the menu page, it goes to the menu page here. And the idea is that you just have a symbol that would be a downloadable PDF for the menu, rather than making a big long scrolling page with all the menu items on it. The gallery. Hopefully we'll get time to show you this in another follow-up lesson, but you can use some HTML just with some JavaScript and things to have a series of photos which will just play over and over in a loop on your page, okay? So we're not going to make that today. We'll just make a basic gallery page with still pictures on it, but you can do a slideshow, and hopefully we'll have time to do a lesson on that another time. Now, we haven't made the contact page or the booking page here, but we've got the gallery page linked in, which we just showed you. And when you exit that, it goes back to the home page. So we've sort of got home and about are the main ones that we've made here on our demonstration website. But how you link them together and make this, we'll cover in separate lessons. All right, so remember, I'm a bit of a slow talker, so make sure that you go on the YouTube player bar to this Tools cog here, where it'll probably have HD on it, and click on that, and then go to playback speed, and make the playback speed 1.5, 1.75, or even 2 times speed if you're able to. And then you'll find the video flows a lot better, because I just sort of go a little bit slow. That's just the way I am. Now, this is quite a long lesson, so in the YouTube description for the video, it's going to have this timeline index here, and so you can get up to, this isn't this lesson, this was another one, but say you got up to finishing tennis photos, right, and you're done with that at 48:17, you can just shut down your computer, come back to YouTube another day, go to the video description, the timeline index, click on 48:17, and it'll take you exactly to this point, okay? It'll jump ahead in the video, and then you can get on to lesson 4 with the free online collage makers. So look, take breaks, it's a long video. You might not do it all in one hit, but you can always come back later using this video timeline index. Now, we're going to show you just quickly here, with our classes that we teach, we get them to make the Indian mock-up we showed you at the beginning all together. We all make that one. But then after that, their challenge task is to make their own web page design. So here are some of the ones which our students have made, just using the simple ideas we've covered, you know, with this Indian restaurant one. I really like the ice cream one with the dripping chocolate. That looks delicious. This is great using red for pizza, kind of red and yellow as the theme. I really like that one. This one here was had a slideshow going up in here and had all sorts of things happening. This was well above standard compared with the others, but this guy actually knew how to code in HTML as well. And that's why we made this whole build the designs in Photoshop and just link them together simply, because we were finding with teaching HTML to do websites properly, a lot of our students were really struggling. So at least they could make this sort of basic design in Photoshop and then get it to link together like a website. Because look, these days, most websites are made using a website maker like WordPress, or the Passie's World of ICT actual website. That's just a WordPress template that we've used for that. All right, so all sorts of different ideas the students came up with, and they had a lot of fun doing that. Now you can actually set up large Photoshop start images, bigger than the ones we're going to do in this lesson, and you can have designs which will scroll down the pages. So this was for a more senior student who had to do an assignment about gaming and sort of the benefits of computer gaming and also the issues like not getting any sleep. And I've seen a lot of students come into class without much sleep because they've been up too late gaming. But anyway, this was a website, and this actually scrolls down the pages. So they made a big template in Photoshop and made the pages really long. So you can do that as well. And we'll just show you that website quickly to show you how it looks. Okay, so here's the Gamer Lookout website, and this is the home page. And what you can do is you can scroll down to read all of it and see all of it. Now these buttons, we'll show you how to make buttons in the lesson, but you can get blank buttons from the internet, which is what they did. And then they put their own text on it in Photoshop, and they also changed the transparency, the opacity of the layer to make these buttons slightly see-through, so you could see the back of it as well. So then they've got a benefits page. They've got stakeholders, they've got everything they had to do, but they've made it into a little website here that can run in a browser rather than doing the standard PowerPoint. So this was a survey they did, and then they had to do graphs and analysis as a survey. So they've got all that, and that goes to a next page. So there's a button here that takes you to the next page, and they had to do a Wordle for it as well. And then when you click back, it takes you back to the home page. So yes, you can make these kind of long scrolling, so it takes you back to the start of the survey. If you want to go to the home page, you've got to click on home. So you can make these long scrolling pages as well. And for people that struggle with HTML and using Dreamweaver and all the intricacies of containers to position images and things like that, and resizing for smaller screens, this can be a great solution for them, the method which we're going to start showing you in this lesson, and we'll cover in follow-up lessons. But anyway, we better get onto it. That was a very long introduction. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to learn how to do the following. Create a blank new start image in Photoshop, because we're going to assume that you have not used Photoshop before. We're going to use the rectangle tool drawing to divide up the web page into some sections. Then we'll have Photoshop layers after we've done that. And then we'll set up our page image in the layers. We're choosing a font type and adding some basic text just to do our writing. And we're going to apply text effects such as Bevel, Emboss, Glow, and Stroke Outline. We're going to make navigation buttons using the rounded rectangle tool. So we'll supply some buttons in the downloads, but you can learn how to make your own in this lesson. We put a gradient fill in those buttons to make them look better. File place embedded and free transform is how you get images onto your web page and also resize them. And we'll add borders around images and save our finished template page. And once you've got the template page made, you can just load that up and do a file save, a copy, save as, and make a different page name for it. And then you can just change the picture and the writing, and hey, you've got your about page. So it's pretty quick. You get the home page done, then that's all done, and you've saved that. Then you just do file, save a copy, and call it about. Then you've got another file for about, and you just change the pictures and the writing, and away you go. You make the rest of your pages quite quickly. So in the downloads, there's a big set of step-by-step instructions. So we're kind of going a little different in this video. If you've been watching our other ones, we're going to have most of the instructions here in this download PDF, which take you through step by step. We're going to do a live demonstration following these instructions, which we've got running in another computer over there, and show you sort of how it works, just step you through those instructions. Now, if you do not want to make your own buttons, but you want to do this exercise and put buttons on, In the downloads, there are some PNG images of already finished buttons which you can use for this practice lesson on the Indian restaurant. If you want to make your own buttons, we've also got a template here that's got the Photoshop layers in it, and that's in Photoshop format, so you can download that as well. And also in the bumper downloads, so many of them, we've also got this actual presentation, this overview we're doing as well. Now, due to copyright, we cannot actually supply the Indian restaurant images we use for the example website, but if you just go to Google Images, you'll find plenty of great pictures of Indian food, which you can use for yours. So if you just type Indian food into the images search, you'll soon find great images which you can use for your demonstration website. And at the end of this video, we'll give you an exclusive personal from Passy of what we think are the 3 best Indian restaurants in Melbourne, Australia. So if you're ever in Melbourne, you can go and get some really great, yummy Indian food, because here at Passy World, we love Indian. It's our favorite food. Photoshop website mockup pages. So in the instructions, there's 2 suggested sizes to make the start page image. So yeah, for these Photoshop work, if you're just using one of these small screen kind of school provided laptops, well then it's best to make the page size, the numbers are a little odd there, 1152 by 658. So just maybe write that down and make a note of it. It is in the step-by-step instructions anyway, which you get from the downloads for this lesson. And check for your teacher, they might already have these downloads for you. If they haven't, they're in the description part of the YouTube video. 1152 by 658, but we're using a big screen here. We've got a 15-inch laptop, so we're going to make them 1920 by 1080. So if you've got a bigger screen, 15-inch or bigger, you can go for a bit of a bigger size, sort of standard high definition, 1920 by 1080. I think this is 1150 by 658 is HD, just high definition. All right, so I think that's pretty much all we wanted to do for the intro. And now let's get started. And we're going to use the instructions. Now I should just show you the instructions quickly. Okay, so in the downloads, you'll get this PDF step-by-step instructions. So we're making, there's 6 pages to make, and we're going to follow these instructions step-by-step in Photoshop, and let's get going. So we've got Photoshop here. Oh, you can see we were doing some work previously. Now we go File and New. So up the top of Photoshop, you go File and New. By the way, this is Photoshop 2021 Creative Cloud. And in here, for our big screen, we're going to have 1920 by 1080. But remember, if you're on one of those smaller school laptops, you'll be typing in here 1152, and I think it was 658 or 758. It's in the download instructions, which I have right here. It's 648. Okay, so you'll be typing 1152 in there and 648 for the height. But we're going big boy size here in our big boy screen. 1920 by 1080, resolution 72 will be fine. Now the background contents, we're going to make it black, and we're actually going to use the bottom part of the black page for where we put our buttons. It's going to kind of be our 3rd color on our page. So if you're following along with this lesson, the one we're doing all together here, the Indian one, make that black. So have that made as black. And then we're pretty much ready to go, so we just go create. All right, and that should bring us up a blank black page. Now, you might not be able to see that because black on the dark gray isn't great, but you can see it if you tilt your screen, but I can't do that because the camera won't work. And the first thing we're going to do is use the rectangle tool, all right? Now, it's important up here, towards the right-hand corner of Photoshop, up in here, the second one across, make sure you're on Essentials, okay? You can be on Graphic and Web, which will give you all sorts of advanced things for the text, but we're not going to use those actually for this lesson anyway. So Essentials is what you need to be on. So just go here on this thing and make sure you're on Essentials. Then you'll see your tools like this. Your tools might be going right down the page like that. You use this little arrows thing here. There's kind of 2 little arrowheads, and if you click them, double them across like that, especially if you're on a smaller laptop, because if you've got them long ways, they might go too far down off your screen and it's painful to find everything. So underneath the letter T, that's the actual text tool for writing, but we're going to use this one, the rectangle tool. So if you push down on this with your mouse, there's a whole bunch of different tools, but we're just using the plain old rectangle tool. All right, now you can have filling in and stroke. Now, what filling in is, let's just show you about stroke. If we make a blue background around something, when we draw the rectangle, notice that it has rounding on it. Okay, notice that this rectangle, and if we click back to our home tool up here to get off it, you'll notice it's got a blue border around kind of white, red fading into white there, a gradient. That's not actually what we want, but that's how the stroke is. The stroke is the Photoshop name for the border around the outside, and the fill is what the shape is filled in with as a color. It's your filling in color. So if you hold down the CTRL key and go Z, we can go backwards and get rid of that. We'll just close this little box here, which is for properties. Right, let's just leave the fill for a minute and go to the stroke. We don't want a border around it. We do not want a border around this rectangle. So you go here to this white one with the diagonal red line. That means don't do a border, no stroke is what that means. So that's like turning it off with the red kind of diagonal line on white. So we don't want that. Now for the fill, if we go to this rainbow color picker, this one here, we're trying to make it kind of a deep red, sort of this color like that, something around there, all right? So use the rainbow picker, and that's going to make our square that color. Now we've got this annoying thing in the way. If you just click over here anywhere, that should go away. And Photoshop wants to create a rectangle 100 by 100, so just cancel that. We're going to make our own one. And what we're going to do is we're going to carefully draw. Now our rectangle has rounded corners here, which is a problem. See how these are all on 10, 10. This puts rounding on, which we're going to use when we have buttons, but we want to change these four guys down here, which you might have to use your scroll bar to get to, or you can go to the bottom of this guy and stretch him with double arrows. We want all these four guys to be 0, all right? Then we'll get a perfectly square rectangle. So let's just close that off for a minute. And we need to resize that so it's sort of about this big. And I'm also not 100% sure about the color of that, but we'll click off it and see what it looks like. It's a little bit too bright, the red, all right? So I want to change it. Now, how do I change it? There's nothing up here to change it. You have to go Window and Properties. So this is all kind of a little bit clunky. We don't have the nice ribbon like you do with Microsoft products. And then we need to get into our rainbow colors. And we want to pick something a deeper red, not brown, but kind of maybe this one will be better. Yeah, that looks better. All right, so we just use the rainbow option there. And if you go back to your home tool here and click off it, that's what it looks like. And that's where we're going to write our heading. Now, if you want to change the size of that, you need to click onto it and just go Edit Free Transform Path. Free Transform changes the size of things. And you can make this a little bit bigger if you want. All right, so that's the first bit. That's going to be the top of our page. Now, in the middle, we're going to have a fill-in section. Then we're going to leave a black strip, a black section at the bottom, and that's where we can put in our buttons later on. All right, so we're back on the rectangle tool again, and we're back on that again, but this time we're choosing a different fill color. And the sort of fill color we want is sort of down in here, kind of a mustard sort of color, but a bit dark so that we can actually, now I should have remembered the RGB color numbers here so I could get this exact, but we'll go for that. That's kind of a tan color. This thing, if you just click on it, it won't go away, which is a pain. If we just click on that fill box there, it will go away. So this one we're just drawing in here, and it looks like it's doing that annoying rounding again. Okay, I thought we turned that off last time, but anyway, we'll have to go back here, and these four guys down here need to be 0. And I think if you just do the first one, no, the other ones aren't following along. Yes, they are for some reason. All right, so they all need to be 0, all four of them. We've got no border around the outside, and that's our fill color. Happy with the fill color, not going to bother changing it. That will do, and that will do. All right, now the size, do we need any more down the bottom? Maybe just a little bit more. Okay, now this one's gone. If it goes slightly over the edge, it doesn't matter. These don't have to line up exactly, all right? So that's kind of our page divided up. We've got this red area for the heading. We've got a black area down the bottom. And we've got this kind of mustard colored area or spice colored area in there. Now, layers. We need to talk about layers. So in Photoshop, you should see a box here which has your background, your rectangle 1 and your rectangle 2, all right? Now, rectangle 1's the red one, so you can double click in here and change the name. So we'll just call that red so we know which one's which. And if you double click on this name in here, we'll just call that the brown one. All right, now, those there, we've changed the names. Now, if you are not seeing this, you need to go to Window and make sure Layers is ticked, because if we click that, layers aren't there because they're not ticked, all right? So we've got to go Window and go to Layers and just click on that and it'll be ticked, and then you can see them here. If you want to use these eyes hide a layer. So if you click on the red one, for example, it hides it and we see the black that's underneath it. So our red rectangle is kind of on top of the black background. If we turn the eye back on, we can see it. So I think that's all we need to say about layers. And what we're going to do is add some text now. So this is the T tool, and make sure you clicked onto the top layer here, brown rectangle, so it's active before you use the text tool. And we click on the text tool and we're just using horizontal type. And the font we're going to pick, my goodness, there are so many of them. Sort of spoilt for choice there, but the one we are going to use is Century Gothic. Okay, so this is all instructions. We're just following the instructions. Regular size needs to be fairly big for this, 72. Now, depending on your screen size, if you're using a smaller laptop, 72 might be too big, and maybe you have to use 60 pt for point, but just try that out. Now, this has got smooth. We're going to go for sharp on this, and the color we want is actually a white color, but you can click on that and go to the rainbow and pick different colors if you need to. And then the idea of the text tool is we just click in here and it'll bring up this default that Adobe does, lorem ipsum. So you need to backspace over that. And we've got our name as Spice of Life Indian Restaurant is the one we're doing. All right, now it's going all over the place and oh no, it's disappeared off the page and what's going on? It's an absolute disaster. This is a bit tricky. With the text tool, you go onto the T tool here in the left-hand side when you want to type and sort of change things and click in and do stuff. When you want to move it, you've got to go back to your home base tool, this tool right up the top, the moving tool. All right, so get onto that. And then we can move that around and you see we've got Spicks of Life. So we're going to have to go back onto our T tool and just get into here. Now, if you accidentally click somewhere else, he says, no, it's not going to do that today. All right, so that's all right. So we'll just get in there and go Spice of Life Indian Restaurant. Click back on our Move Around tool, get that into position, and then that's okay right there in the middle. Okay, so now, next, we're going to add some text effects and we're going to do some bevel and emboss. So we're going to make these letters stand out. They're kind of a bit flat and boring, like you've just typed on a piece of paper here. So make sure you clicked onto this T layer in your layers. So that's the active one you're working on at the moment. And down the very bottom here, there's an FX, which is for effects. Little f and little x, and if you click on that, it'll bring up all these effects. Now we want to do some beveling and embossing to make the lettering stand out better. So click on Bevel and Emboss. Now if you mess this up and click on Stroke and get the wrong one, there are cancel buttons. Remember, you can always go Control and Z, hold down the CTRL key and Z to go backwards too if you make mistakes. But anyway, we'll get on the right one, Bevel and Emboss. And then there's lots and lots of settings here, and this is where you'll need to go to the instructions and get the right ones. So we want to have an inner bevel, so we want inner bevel, that's okay. Smooth is good. Now the percent is, we want quite a lot. We want 553 or around 550. That will do right there. The size, we're going to bring that up and make it 49. And see how it's changing the lettering as we're doing it? Now 49 seems like a lot, but we're going to have that. And it's fading into grey at the moment, which we'll fix up in a minute. Soften, we're just leaving it 0. 90 degrees, 30 degrees. The highlight is this. Now the shadow mode is grey at the moment, which doesn't look good. What I want to do is we're going to change that shadow mode to a yellow, and then this bottom half goes yellow. All right, so we're just picking a nice bright yellow for the shadow part. And the shadow mode we're using is multiply. So there's lots of different modes here. You can play around with them and see what happens. See, color burn did nothing. What about exclusion? Well, that made it blue, so that's not too good. So you better go with the one that suggested multiply. That looks the best. So these settings are all in the downloadable instructions, so make sure you get that. So that's kind of nice. We've got white now kind of fading into a bit of the color of this brown, and we've done that. Now there's other effects available on the FX button as well, such as glow. So we'll stay on this text layer in the layers group up there, and we're going to go FX again, and we're going to do some inner glow and tick on that. All right, now for the inner glow, we're going to use a red color, a really bright red, and then we have to just play around with the things. Now I want kind of an outer glow here. I've got the wrong one, so I'm going to cancel that. And I'm going to try again because I want an outer glow. Inner glow, outer glow. That's better. We're trying to make it glow all red on the outside. So we're going to get on bright red like that. And opacity. Now that's how see-through it is. We're not really seeing it happening here. Spread. Size. Okay, when I start doing the size. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna have this kind of glow around here, and then with opacity, kind of make it a bit see-through, because like if it's like that, it's too kind of bright and everyone can see it. We want it just kind of a bit subtle like that. So it's got a bit of this glowing kind of chilly look about it, all right? But anyway, it's up to you exactly how you set it, but that's that. And that's fiddling around with the heading. You could make different colors for the glow if you want to. And now we're ready to actually make our buttons which go across the bottom. So let's do a save here. So we'll just do file save as. Now this is a new thing with Photoshop. There's file save as and file save a copy. File save as will be okay for this. Save on your computer. So let's put it in just this making websites one. Now it needs to stay as a Photoshop PSD. There's 4 different types here, but if you use file save a copy, there'll be even more. But make sure it's on Photoshop PSD and it has .psd on the end, because we want to keep this. This is kind of our project file where we've got all the layers in it and things. So this will be our, I'm just going to call it lesson page 1 and save that. All right. So just to get that saved. Now we've been going 30 minutes because this is going to be a long video. So what we suggest is you can take a break now if you want. Just pause the video, or just even if you have to shut down your computer now and go off and do something, that's fine. Remember, you can come back and go to the video timeline index and find where we've got make buttons and just resume there. So take a break now and then come back. Okay, welcome back. Now making buttons. If you want to, you can just use the buttons from the downloads. Get them from the YouTube video description, and then you go File, Place Embedded is how you bring in another picture and make it show. So I can see them here, I've just turned this mode, instead of having like details like that, if you change your mode or change your view if it's up the top, and change it to large icons, we can see what they are. Now the first button you usually have on the left is the home button. So I'm just going to use this ready-made one here and place it. And then we can just move it into position like that. All right. And then you can just click off that one when it's done, and we can do File, Place, Embedded again, and we can get the About button. So we'll have the About one next. I'm not sure what order they were on the lesson sheet. Now we need to try and get these lined up perfectly in a straight line and the same size. They should be the same size, I think, because they're all made from the same button template. Now, how you get them lining up perfectly is if you've got View and you've got Rulers turned on, so you go View and make sure Rulers is ticked, what you can do is on these rulers up the top, you can push down where the ruler is on any of these numbers, hold your mouse button down, and you can drag out a guideline for lining things up. So I'm going to drag one out there, and we're going to drag a second one out here so that we can kind of get these all in a perfect straight line down the bottom so that looks good. So if we do that, and see how it even turns pinky purple while we're moving it. Purple tells us we're in the right spot on that line, okay? So when it's purple, we're going to have it like that. And that way we can get them all lined up. And you can keep doing File, Place, Embedded and put them on there. And also with these lines, what we can do with them is when we're finished, we can go View and Clear Guides. All right, Clear Guides, and then they'll go away. But we won't do that just yet. We're going to just bring in all these buttons. Then we'll show you how you can make your own button if you wanted to. So what do we have next? Let's have the menu is probably something people want to find pretty quickly. So I'll bring the menu one down. See these ones here? These are for resizing if you needed to resize the buttons. Now what if you've clicked off the button, but see how this one's a bit too small now? We need to resize it. You can just go Edit and Free Transform, and then you get back onto that resizer tool. So I'll just push down and hold our mouse in the middle of the button. Hope we've resized it the right amount. And see, we're even getting a pink center line there to tell us that's lining up with the other ones. So that's all good. There we go. We've got those all lining up across. The trouble is they're all kind of slightly to the left, and we'd like to move them all across into the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our first one, and you can see they're all in the layers here when you go to your layers panel. So remember, if that's not showing, you need to go Window Layers so it is showing up. And we want to move all of them at once. So what you can do is the home button's clicked as the active one. If you hold down, I think it's the CTRL key down the bottom left-hand corner, CTRL, you can keep clicking here until you've got all 6 selected. So we've held down the CTRL key while we were clicking, and we've got all 6 of them. So if we use our right-hand arrow key on the keyboard, they're all going to move across together. All right, now they're not all perfect spacing either, I'm noticing. We kind of got wider and wider as we went across. All right, we could fiddle around and move them around and make them look better. But look, we'll just go with that for that. And our page is getting very near completed now, the template basic page that we can make all the other pages from, because all the other pages need a heading. All of the other pages need buttons across the bottom and the same buttons. So we can just keep doing File Save As with different names for this page and use it as a template. Now we're finished with those guides. So what we do is we just go View and Clear Guides. Now you could move these and get them all perfect, but we're making this way too long here. So we'll just leave it like that. They all look pretty good lined up. Now there's an Indian flag as well, I think. File, Place, Embedded. Where are all these miscellaneous Indian images? Hopefully I've got it here somewhere. I know I've got that flag somewhere. There it is. So yeah, this was just off Google Images. So there's my Indian flag. So I'm just going to put it up on this side. Now to get it over the other side, you don't have to do File, Place, Embedded again. You can hold down the ALT key, the ALT, which is right next to the space bar on most computers down the bottom. And if you hold down ALT while you're on your Move tool up here, you can click on this and Photoshop will automatically make a copy of it. And it also gives you those nice kind of guidance lines in pink. So you can make that line up with the other one, all right? So we've got a couple of Indian flags across the top there, which we wanted. and that's looking good. So let's just do a file save. So we save our latest version of that. And then all we need to do is bring in writing and also put a picture in here, and then that page will be done. But look, before we do that, we're going to show you how you can make your own buttons. Now to do that, you need to go File New, and we're making a new document. So it's File New. Now this one's just going to be 400 by 300 in size. And for this one, for the buttons, if you're making your own button, you want the background transparent, okay? So you want a clear background. So you go transparent and we go create. Now we just get on our rectangle tool. In older versions of Photoshop, you could push down and there was a rounded rectangle tool, because on the buttons you usually want slightly rounded off edges, but they don't have that anymore. You have to make your own rounding, as we've seen already actually. But anyway, we'll just go onto the rectangle tool. That's what we want. Now for the fill color, we want to use a gradient this time, which is this one here. And we want our buttons, if we were looking at our buttons, they're going from kind of a red color to a yellow color. So in here we've got kind of a deep red, like that, looking at the instructions. And then up this end with this little house here, this color stop, you double click on that and it'll open up the rainbow. And for that end, we kind of want a yellow kind of color, maybe like that, okay? And that way our button will fade from red up to being yellow at the top. Now, stroke, remember, you just for that, you just want to make sure, what's happened? I'm on my rectangle tool. Nothing wants to work anymore. All right, anyway, you need the no stroke. I think we have to do window properties perhaps to get back into it. It's all a bit temperamental. It won't do anything because we haven't drawn anything yet. All right, so we draw this out, kind of like that. That's going to be our button, and it's gone from red to white. Very nice, Photoshop. I just set this up, but anyway, we'll change the colors because we didn't want red to white. We want a yellow color like that. All right, so that's looking better. That's the sort of color we want for our button. Maybe we can make it a little bit wider there. Now, the rounding off of the corners, 10 is okay. What happens if we change the rounding off to about 20? I think that's going to be better. Although the instructions do say 10, it probably doesn't matter. All that's good. Now that stroke, yeah, make sure on stroke that you're on this no color one. And you could have something around the edge of your button, but we usually go no color, and that's all good. And so we can close this guy here with these double arrows, or just exit and go back to our home base moving tool. All right, so that's our button. Now, what if we want more yellow? What if we want to move the positions of those gradients? Just go to window properties. All right, showing you a lot of things here. Go on the fill. If you want kind of more yellow, you can go like this and see that'll move to have more yellow. And we kind of want it like that, maybe a little bit more red, if anything. Now, if you click here, you can have a third color. So we could also have some sort of kind of green, deep green spice color in there as well, but it's kind of getting a bit too much. If you don't want this color, what you do is you just grab it and you just pull it so it goes away, and that'll be it. There's no kind of trash can symbol or a delete symbol or anything. You just have to do that, all right? So that's basically how we set up gradients, and we're happy with that, so we'll just close this X here. And now we just need our letter T to do some typing, and we're doing it in white. We're not going to use Century Gothic though. I think we're going to use Arial and just 30 points. So a good old basic Arial, which is a basic font, and we're going to have size 30 because I don't think we need 72. And then if you click in there, it gives us tons of lorem ipsum stuff. Thanks for that, Photoshop. And wouldn't you know, it's made a liar of me. The home is way, way, way too small. All right, so I'll get back on my text tool. I'll color that in. Now my button, let's just go Control Z. Something really funny happened there. Get back on the Move tool, Control Z. It looks like my button has some sort of outline, even though I didn't set up for an outline. Anyway, I clicked on the text layer here. Is the text inside that outline? I'm not sure why it's displaying that blue box, but I don't think it's going to actually come out. Let's go in the text. That needs to be a lot bigger. Maybe it does need to be about 70 point. No, it's too big. So anyway, it's a matter of fiddling around here with the size. Let's try 60. 60 looks all right. Okay, so that's the home one. Now what we can do is we can just save this one, and you can save them as Photoshop images actually. So let's just save on our computer. Let's just call this lesson home button. Spelt it wrong, but it doesn't matter. Okay, now to make the about button, we've now got a little template, except it's done that Lorem Ipsum. Now we didn't want to do more writing, so press the ESC key up the top left-hand corner to get rid of that. We wanted to just click on the home one, and we want to change that to about. Now it looks like we've got an extra line down the bottom here. I think we can move that. That's just a container to put the text in, and we won't see that in the finished button. And I think we better stick to using capital letters because that's what they usually do for buttons. So that's our about one. So we just file save as and save on your computer. Call this one the about button, and don't spell it so bad as I did. And you can keep just manufacturing. Now you can save them as PNG if you click on save a copy here so that they're visible. We're just going to save them as Photoshop. All right, so that's kind of making buttons. We could spend a lot more time on that, but then you just do your file place embedded, and you can actually get, yes, here it is in the miscellaneous Indian images. So yeah, if we place that in, see how that home button's a bit big? Well, we'd have to shrink it down. Now, when you shrink it down too, it might kind of stretch all funny. So let's just press the escape key and go file place embedded again. And I'm gonna have trouble finding it. There it is, place. Right, now to keep it in proportion, hold down the shift button on your keyboard. So there's a shift button, hold it down, and then it won't wiggle around and go out of proportion. And then when you've got it right, you can drag it down and put it in. So that's if you're making your own buttons. Now it looks like I forgot to bold the text as well. I wasn't looking at the instructions, but yeah, that text needed to be made a bold color and in capitals. But yeah, basically, I'll just press escape there, the ESC key. That was about doing that. Now, where are we up to? We need to finish this off. So that's how you make your own buttons if you want to do that. Now let's get back to finishing this off and getting the pictures on there. All right, so we're going to do some text. So this one is brush text. Which is kind of squiggly writing. So you should find, I think, brush script. I think that's a fairly standard one. Now we've got brush script MT. That's the one we want. I don't know if there's much difference between standard. We're just using MT. We get that on there, and we want size. Looking at the instructions, it does not have a size. Let's try size 14 to start off with, maybe size 20 to start off with. Now this color here, we want kind of a dark green color. Now you can kind of go to the rainbow here and find a dark green. If you really like this dark green that's in the Indian flag, you can go right outside the color picker and you get this kind of dipping tool, and I can just dip in to where that green is from the Indian flag and use that. And maybe I'll just make it a little bit darker. And I'll just keep that as my color. Now the text I'm going to put in here, so I can actually drag out a box. If I'll push down my mouse and hold, there's a box there for the text to go in, and it's got all this Lorem Ipsum stuff in there already. And it looks like my font size is way too small. And I'm going to need, I'm not sure, this must be a very small sized font. Yeah, I'm going to need something around 48 and 60 actually. Now what goes in here, you can get it from the instructions PDF. Okay, so in the PDF, there's this text here. So to save you some typing, let's grab that, and all going well, it should come out looking like this on the page when we paste it in. So let's just click on this stuff here that Adobe gave us, and carefully backspace so we don't have that, and Control V our one in, and here we go, we've got that. Now, do we want it centered? It's all going to the center of the page, and it's also a bit, the green's a little bit too light, so it's not all fitting in either. So I need to make this wider, and then I can get all of the writing. And I actually want a darker green, okay? So I'm gonna go kind of way down here. All right, that's much better contrast like that. And it's all kind of centered in the middle. That's because of these ones up here. This, if you put it to the right, everything will go to the right. It's in the center at the moment with this one. We want it kind of left, and we want it to say and Western. So this needs to stretch a little bit, and then that's kind of what it looks like. Size 60 is way too big. All right, let's try size 50. But anyway, you can play around with the sizes. Ideally, I wanted it a little bit bigger than that, but that'll do like that. Okay, and then to finish off the home page, we just need a big picture in this gap here. So we're just going to go File, Place, Embedded, and we've already saved a whole bunch of Indian restaurant pictures off the internet, and the one we're going to use for the home page, I think, was the Indian spices one, this one here. So we're just going to put that in there and stretch that. I may have even bought this, paid for this. I know I did buy some stock images from somewhere, but anyway, because the video is for educational purposes, there's no kind of copyright violation by doing this. So anyway, we just put that in there, and then that's done. Now we can also add effects to images, so you can go to FX here, and what we want here is a bit of a inner shadow, I think it was. Let me just check what we're using around the picture. A drop shadow, okay? So you can go for a drop shadow, and what we're going to have with the drop shadow is our nice kind of chili red color. Now we'll have to push down on the top of this and move it so you can actually see what's happening, which isn't the easiest thing to do. And if we get on drop shadow and you follow the instructions, if you go for multiply and about 83, up in the 80%, we're not seeing anything happen yet, because we need to set the size up to 84 by the looks of it. Not the noise, the size. All right, and see how you'll see that kind of shadowy red appearing? Maybe we'll make it a bit more intense. The opacity is like that, size is like that. Spread, you can have it spread out. Now we kind of just want it like that, just so it's glowing a little bit. So it just adds a bit. It doesn't look like it's cut out from a piece of paper and glued on or something like a kid's project if you put a bit of glow in it. So that's our home page finished. So what we do is we make sure we go File, Save As, and we need to save that on our computer as our lesson page 1. This was the home one. All right, and that's saved as a Photoshop one. And you also need to save a JPG version of it, which we're going to need later for making lithium together. But you need to do Save a Copy in the newest Photoshop. So you go File, Save a Copy, save on your computer. Because if you don't do Save a Copy, you don't get all of the file types, which is a real pain. I don't know why Adobe changed that. But anyway, JPEG is what we want. So we'll just call this is Photoshop automatically labels a copy. We'll just call that JPG so we know this is the, and we'll put that in big letters, JPG. This is the JPG version. Now, it'll have a quality here, and if you click preview, it tells you how big it is. Now, often you don't need quality 12, and that's 668K. Okay, that's not too big. If it start getting to be 2 meg or 1.5 meg, it's getting big. But quality 11 is probably good enough, and we can save that as a JPEG. Now, when we want to make the other pages, it's really simple now. We just do File, Save As, save on the computer, and see how we've got lesson page 1 home. We're just going to make a lesson page 1 about now. All right, and save that as a Photoshop one. So yeah, I've got this PSD one here. Now, what I can do now is I can just go to where this welcome text in the layers, where the welcome text is. I can go in here and I can go, you know, this is the about page. So we are conveniently located, blah, blah, blah. So I think I've got caps lock on there, but you can write new text in there and move this around and change it. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a right click change the image type thing like there is in Microsoft products, so we're going to have to redo our glow. But basically this picture here, the Indian spices, we want to remove. So click on it in the layers panel, and there's a little trash can down the bottom right hand corner. Just click that to delete that layer, and we'll just go File. Our good old place embedded is how we bring everything in. We need to go to our Indian restaurant images. Yeah, this Indian banquet picture, I'll kind of place that in for this one, and I'll make it a lot bigger. So it's going to have a different picture in it for the about page. And just quickly, we get that in. Then you can make sure you clicked on that picture and do your FX, your outer glow. Now, hopefully Photoshop will remember the settings. No, it doesn't seem to be doing that. Outer glow. Oh no, hang on, I wasn't using outer glow. It was drop shadow. So Photoshop, yeah, remembers the settings, so we can just say okay. And then we've got our about page and we save that one. And you can make your memory gallery and all the other ones just one by one, and then you've got all your pages. So it's the hardest thing's making the first one, then you just file save as copy to make the other ones. I've made this video way too long, but remember, take breaks, use the video timeline index. So let's get it all wrapped up. Okay, so the challenge task for you is make these pages for the Indian restaurant, because in later lessons we're going to link them together and use these actual pages, although we will supply, I suppose, copies of the pages in the later lessons in case you haven't got them all made. And we're going to work on them. But the challenge task for you, and this is what we set for our students for an assignment, is that they have to make their own page design. So this student here, she was really into makeup, and I think she even put a picture of herself there on that one. This guy loved pizza, so he did a pizza shop and made all the pages for that. So we had clothing, instead of Supreme, we've got Boopreme. The Rockets fan gear club for the Rockets team. So you can buy merch if you're a fan. Someone made a T-Bay instead of an eBay, which was quite amusing. So on these pages, you need 6 pages when you do this. You'll need a home, about us, contact. So every type of website has them. Now, it depends what you're doing. If you're doing kind of a merch shop or clothes, maybe you'll have shop or order. If you're doing a food one, you'll have kind of menu. Then you won't have booking on these clothes shops and the makeup shop. Might have products, or you've got shop or buy or returns, how to do returns. So you can see here on the makeup one, we've got home, about us, contact, products, and then a guide just for about what's on the website and how returns work and all of that sort of thing and how you buy stuff. This one's got home, about, shop, and contact. So it's only got 4, but that's probably okay because the shop pages were fairly detailed on this. Here we've got the home, menu, booking gallery, about, contact, because we're doing a restaurant one. So yeah, students can pick what they want to do theirs on, and they've just got to make some page designs in Photoshop, and that's really good. That's sort of our first intro making a website type lesson that we do in IT. Now we do have other lessons which we're probably not going to make videos about, but where you can actually use HTML and have containers and put in images in them and use Dreamweaver extensively. But yeah, maybe one day we'll have that on Passy's World of ICT, but not today or not soon. All right, so finally, personal recommendations. If you are in Melbourne, Australia at any time, Pinned Bellucci, if you love curry, it is the place for curry eaters. This is out in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne at Narre Warren, and that is highly recommended. As is DPAM, which is not far away in the same outer suburbs, Berwick in southeastern suburbs. So if you're in the southeastern suburbs, you're spoilt with Indian food. You've got both of these excellent restaurants. If you're in the Bayside area of Melbourne, Delhi Club, which is kind of in the Mordialloc, Parkdale, Mentone area. So it's kind of halfway down the bay from Melbourne, but those three, we have found everything from them. All the dishes are superb and quite reasonably priced for Australia. Food is really expensive in Australia. When I travel overseas, I eat out at a restaurant and I go, what, is it only costs that much? For some reason, our restaurants are outrageous here, but good prices on those and great food, highly recommended. Let's wrap this up. So give this video a big thumbs up like if it's helped you. It's a great way to learn how to start designing your own website just for beginners. And you also learn some Photoshop, which is a bonus. And remember, we're putting out videos regularly on all ICT related things, especially for students and teachers. So give our video a big thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next lesson.